Hi guys, Dr. Rob Barrington here with some more nutritional advice. I'd like to talk today about the Brassica family of vegetables and why it's important not to overcook them and why it's important not to undercook them. Now, the Brassica family is sometimes referred to as the cruciferous family. Cruciferous vegetables include broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, also cabbage is a cruciferous vegetable. These vegetables contain a number of nutrients that may have preventative effects against disease. They contain vitamin C and a number of minerals. However, they contain a group of chemicals that is of particular interest in the nutritional science at the moment, and these are called the glucosinolates. Now, glucosinolates are chemicals. They're fairly water soluble. They're found in the cells of these vegetables, and they may possess anti-cancer effects. However, in order to be able to have an effect in humans, they need to be converted into other chemicals called isothiocyanates. Now, these isothiocyanates are more fat soluble and therefore they're much better absorbed in humans. Although glucosinolates appear to be absorbed, these isothiocyanates appear to be the active chemicals in these vegetables that give them their anti-cancer effects. When they're absorbed in humans, they go into the blood, they go to the cells, and what they do is they increase phase 2 detoxification, and at the same time they inhibit phase 1 detoxification. Now, what this means is that chemicals within your body, within your blood and within your cells that have the potential to become carcinogenic are inhibited in their conversion to these carcinogenic compounds, and that is the purpose of the phase 1 enzymes. And Brassica family isothiocyanates inhibit the phase 1 enzymes. However, because they have induced the phase 2 enzymes, once these carcinogenic chemicals are formed, they are accelerated in their excretion and they don't remain carcinogenic for long. And therefore, what we tend to find is from these isothiocyanates is that they reduce the amount and the exposure of the cells of the body to carcinogens. Now, in order for the isothiocyanates to have an effect in your body, they have to get into the blood and they have to get into the cells. And remember, in the Brassica family vegetables, the isothiocyanates are not in their original form. They're as the form of glucosinolates. So the broccoli that is in your fridge does not have many isothiocyanates within its cells. What it has is high concentrations of glucosinolates. Now, if we go back to the start of the video, I said I'd like to talk about why broccoli needs to be cooked but not overcooked. And this relates to the formation of these isothiocyanates. In the cells of the broccoli, there are two things. There are the glucosinolates and there is the enzyme that converts them into the isothiocyanates. Now, within the cells, these two components are kept apart. However, in order to be able to put the enzyme with the substrate and cause the formation of the isothiocyanates, you need to be able to break down the cell walls. Now, to do this, there's two things you can do. You can either chew the broccoli, in which case you mechanically break the cell walls and bring the enzyme into contact with the substrate, or you can cook it. Now, I said that you shouldn't really eat raw broccoli, raw cabbage, raw cauliflower. A certain amount of these vegetables raw is fine. However, they do contain dietary goitrogens, and it may be that if you eat a lot of them, you actually affect your thyroid gland. So I would tend to suggest that you always cook these vegetables. Now, the other part of this video was to suggest that you don't overcook them. And the reason for this is that the myrosinase enzyme that's required to convert the glucosinates into the isothiocyanates is deactivated by heat. If you cook your broccoli, if you cook your cabbage, and if you cook your cauliflower for too long, you will deactivate the myrosinase, and this will result in fewer isothiocyanates being formed, and therefore you will get less cancer prevention. Now, nutrition is not an exact science. We're all biochemically different. The amount of isothiocyanates we need for chemical inhibition is not known, and we don't have analytical equipment that allows us to look at the concentration of chemicals before we eat them. So there is a certain amount of guesswork here. As a rough guide, you need to cook the broccoli for long enough that it is no longer hard, but you don't want to overcook it so it becomes soft. That would be probably between 1 and 2 minutes if you boil it. If you steam it, it might be slightly longer. If you get to the situation where the broccoli has become, for example, very soft, you have probably overcooked it and you will be decreasing the amount of isothiocyanates formed because you will be denaturing the myrosinase. Remember that once you have cooked it for a certain amount of time, if you chew it thoroughly, you will further break down the cell walls and you will create more isothiocyanates. So therefore, my suggestion when you eat Brassica family vegetables is to cook them for a short period of time and make sure you chew them very well in order to break down the cell wall. My other recommendation is, because these Brassica family vegetables tend to have slightly different profiles in the chemicals they contain, you should incorporate as many different vegetables from this family as you can in your diet, and you should eat them regularly.